having to deal with the judgment of other people when I chose to stay in my marriage was really difficult. I don't know if you've experienced that. I didn't tell a ton of people. I was pretty close, kept it close to the vest. You know what I mean? I didn't want other people to know my business, and being a pastor, I just didn't want to be bombarded with it every day. So I was pretty selective about who I told, but I feared their judgment. I feared their pity. I feared what they would think of my husband. I feared what they would think of me. In some ways, I guess I thought, people may think, oh, wow, you're so incredible for staying in your marriage. But then I knew there would be people who would shake their heads and go, are you crazy? Why would you do that? I would never do that. I know this judgment exists because right here on this very channel, some people have made some comments that, as a person who stayed in my marriage, it was a little hurtful to read. People saying things like, you're weak if you stay. Why would you do that? I would never do that, or whatever. So if you've experienced this fear of other people's judgment or what other people think about your choice to stay in your marriage, or even, I will even flip this, even if it's your choice to leave, if you worry so much about what other people think, stay tuned, because I'm going to help us figure out a way to stop letting that affect us so much, okay? So stay tuned. All right, so judgment. I've talked about this 100 times in my videos. If you haven't watched my boundaries videos, go back and watch those. But, we all have our own set of things that live within our boundaries. What we think, what we feel, and what we do. Those all belong to us. They are our responsibility. It's also not only our responsibility, but it's something that no one else has a right to jump in our boundary and tell us how to think, feel, or what to do. Okay, so there's a separation there. What lives in their boundary lives in their boundary, and what lives in our boundary lives in our boundary. So I share that because if someone has a judgment or some type of opinion about our choices, that's their opinion. They're entitled to it. They're entitled to think what they think. They're even entitled to feel about it how they feel about it. Where they may cross the line is when they begin to tell us how we should feel and think about it. In other words, they want us to feel and think about it the same way they feel and think about it. Does that make sense? So when someone crosses that boundary line, here's our job. This is why boundaries are so important. If we have a very clear boundary around our decision to stay, in other words, we know this was the best decision for me right now. This is not something that I can't change later. Like if I decide I'm unsafe and I need to change and I need to leave this marriage, if I'm no longer safe, if he's back in touch with the affair partner, whatever it is, you know that you've made the best decision for you right now, this second. So you put a boundary around it that says, it doesn't matter what other people think about this choice because it's my choice. It lives in my boundary. So when other people try to say things about it or they try to throw in their opinion or anything like that, this boundary is going to be like Teflon. It's going to bounce off. It's not going to stick. Their opinion, their thought, whatever it is, it's not going to stick to me. It's going to bounce off. So have that mental image in your mind that you have taken this boundary and you've slathered it with, Teflon is the best thing I can think of, for nonstick pans, whatever, just something where it's just going to bounce off. We cannot tell somebody that they're not allowed to think or feel what they think or feel about our decisions. That's in their boundary, just like how we feel and think is in ours. But it's when they try to cross in, when they try to insinuate their own ideas, their own perspective on you in such a way to coerce, convince, that kind of thing. You want to be able to say no. I appreciate that you feel that way, but I really do not want to have this conversation with you. This is about my life. You've expressed how you feel, and we're going to leave it there. We're not going to have this conversation again. Set limits, set boundaries around that. We fear other people's opinions and other people's judgments because we instead of just letting them have it in their boundary, we take it and we put it in ours, and then we ruminate over it, and then we apply it, and then we carry it around like a shame backpack, oh gosh, they said I was weak. I don't know, maybe I am. Maybe I need, maybe I am being, suckered by my husband. Maybe, I did make the wrong decision. Maybe this is a bad idea for the kids. Maybe this is, so you start adding all these things into your shame backpack. And before you know it, you're carrying what doesn't belong to you. You're walking around with all of this stuff that literally jumped out of somebody else's boundary and into yours. But you accepted it, you took it, you know what I mean? And so when we're starting to fear judgment, that's what we're afraid of. We're afraid of that feeling that, oh gosh, what if they're right? Let me put that in my shame backpack. Let me carry that around a little bit. It doesn't do us any good. It doesn't help us, and it certainly does not help our healing process and our recovery. If anything, it makes it more challenging for us as we're trying so hard to take care of ourselves. We're trying so hard to be the happy, healthy wife, woman that we can be. So we're trying all of these things, but if we're carrying around a 50-pound shame, backpack everywhere we go, we're not going to feel good about ourselves. We're going to beat ourselves up constantly, and I promise you, that is not what we need to be doing when we're trying to heal from the affair. The best defense we have are strong boundaries that prohibit us taking what does not belong to us. Did you guys see that crane back there? Super cool, right? I'm in Edisto, South Carolina right now, actually. It's just beautiful out here. It's really windy, but it's beautiful. But I thought, I wanted a nice, serene background for these. Anyway, make sure that you have your boundaries in place. If you are sitting around worrying about judgment, get those boundaries set up. Now, I'm going to go a step further with this because I do know some of us struggle with family. I was very blessed. My family never treated my husband any differently. They respected my choices. But I know there are some families out there, for instance, I've heard this before. Well, I'm allowed to come to family gatherings, but my husband is now not allowed to come, so I have to take the kids and go alone. So not only are family members spreading judgment on your choice and judgment on your husband, but they're going a step further in creating their own boundaries around their judgmentalism. And that's very challenging. So I would go a step further and say, if this is the case, okay, if you're facing a situation where your husband is not welcome or they're treating him poorly, you need to set different boundaries accordingly. And saying you are allowed to feel how you feel about him, you're allowed to think about him how you think about him, but you're taking a step that is hurtful and inappropriate to our whole family. If my husband is not invited, I'm not coming. You choose. Because we have got to get, if we're going to heal our family and we're going to get beyond this, we need you to be on our side. Set firm boundaries there too. Judgment is one thing. When judgment becomes a negative action or some type of hurtful action or unhealthy action, that's when you have a problem and you need to set appropriate boundaries. I hope this is making sense because it's important that we don't carry around that heavy shame backpack. We have our Teflon in place, and the things people say, just bounce off of it. And if there's an unhealthy action involved in this at all from any source, that you address that with a boundary of your own. All right. Yeah, judgmentalism, it's awful, isn't it? And today's society is so polarized and everybody's so opinionated about everything. I can only imagine how this is adding to your pain right now. Just try the boundary, see if that helps. I have some other helpful tools right below this video. Click on the links. The first link is a video that I created that's got some really great tips and tools on affair recovery. And then right below that is a free guide. And then right below that is a link to my Facebook group that only includes wives who've been betrayed. Okay, it's a selective group. I keep it as safe as I can possibly keep it. We are a wonderful supportive community, and I invite you to be a part of that. Now, the video you click on, the first thing right below, tells you how to get in touch with me. I am a master certified coach. I would love a chance to work with you and help you during your healing process. I've been there. I carry the experience into my coaching with me, and I'm there to add an empathetic ear and to help you move forward in a healthy way. So contact me if you're interested in coaching, and I look forward to that. And in the meantime, remember, boundaries. Okay, I cannot harp on that enough. Boundaries with a really good Teflon on them. Okay, don't carry that shame. Don't carry it. It's not yours. Do not add more burden to what you're already having to go through. Okay. Good luck.